remember that quickly here, right? So the idea behind orthographic projections was that they're all things that are come at a right angle. But now today we're going to draw something with using an isometric projection. And the idea there is that we kind of create a what's called a pictorial, right? Something that looks a little more like a real thing. For that, let me jump into my presentation here. There you go. So as I said, isometric projection, and we're going to do that today and on Wednesday as well, because it takes a little while to practice. And then I'll give you some more practices over the next week or so. All right, so why do we do pictorials, right? So we just learned basically that we can do these orthographic projections, and that all information that we could possibly want is going to be on these orthographic projections. All right, so now this would be a set of orthographic projections. Now it's not completely correct because I forgot to put the center lines on there, but let's skip over that for now. All right, so now we get these kind of three views, and with that, we're now supposed to be able to imagine what this piece looks like. Now, this piece that tends to be like, going from just seeing the orthographic projections to actually imagining what this piece would look like is not always easy, right? The ones that we had were relatively simple, but if we have things that are more complex, obviously that gets very difficult to do. That's why we usually add a pictorial, right? So if we draw a kind of a 3D drawing almost of it, right, then that makes it a lot easier for us to understand what this is going to look like, right? So again, we'd add this. This is not something that we would have to actually produce the part or put any dimensions or measurements on. It's just for us to make it easier to see what it could possibly be, right? So that's kind of the idea behind this pictorial. And now there's another reason why we may want to do pictorials is because it's helpful if we have a drawing where we have multiple parts that are all being assembled into one big object. And we're not going to do that by hand because that's just like the drawing gets a little crazy, but we'll do that once we go to Inventor, right? Then we'll figure out these assemblies, and these assemblies are just much easier to see and to understand if we do them on this kind of isometric projections, right? Imagine that we just had a view that was coming from this direction, right? Then all these screws and bolts and washers would all be overlapping each other, and we couldn't tell the difference, right? It becomes very difficult to see. So that's the two reasons why we like to do pictorials. Now there's several different ways that we can do pictorials. There's the oblique one, right? The perspective one that you probably did in high school if we had art in high school, right? You did kind of that we draw a point out in the distance, and then all the rays kind of go point toward that one point. That would be the perspective. And then there's the one that's called axonometric. And we're actually going to use the axonometric one for us. And we're going to use a very specific axonometric one that's called the isometric one. And basically what that has, it kind of takes our part and kind of puts it at an angle, right? So instead of like we had before, we looked in this direction and that direction and that direction, we're now kind of looking from the front corner, something like this. Right. So to do that, we kind of put it on its corner, right? Kind of pivot it a little bit on its corner. So we have a 60-degree angle between the depth and the height, and also a 60-degree angle between the height and the width. Right. And that's why I asked you to print out this isometric paper, because the isometric paper already has this gridded out with 60-degree angles. Right. So if you want to get out your protractor, right, you can see that those angles up there are all 60-degree angles. Now, if we wanted to do these isometric ones exactly correctly, right, then we'd have to basically have to scale all the lengths by 80%. Now, in our case, that becomes really iffy if you have to, if you have a number that's not divisible by 8 or something, right, then that becomes real messy. So we're going to skip the scaling of the part. So we'll just have our original lengths, which is not 100% isometric, but for for our drawing purposes would be good enough. All right, so now let's, how do we do that, right? We learned how to do it for the orthographic one. In a way, the orthographic one is really easy, right? Because all we have to imagine is that we're taking a picture from one side, from the other side, and from the top, right? So that makes it relatively easy to draw. The isometric ones are a little trickier to draw because we don't see what the object looks like until we start drawing it, right? That's kind of the reason why we do the drawing, is so we can see what the three-dimensional object looks like, but we don't necessarily know it beforehand. Now, in this case, of course, we already know it beforehand, right? This is our little arts and crafts project. We all know what the shape looks like, so that helps a little bit to start out. So I kind of broke this down to do it once, just kind of in a cartoon way, and then I'll sit down with you guys, and I'll do one with my camera here on a piece of paper, right? To so see all the steps. But the general idea is that we choose a point that we want to start our drawing with, right? Remember that we're kind of doing something that's a little bit on edge, right? So usually we'll choose the point that's at the very front here, right? So that would be, in our drawing, that point, right, is represented as being down here, being over there, and over there, right? That's kind of the same point if we think about it that way. And that's the point that I drew in red right here, right? That's our starting point. Then we create what we call the bounding box. And basically what we do is we see, well, what's the largest width that I can get, right? So in our case, that'd be if I go from here all the way to there, right? That's the maximum I can do in width. And then I see, well, what's my maximum depth, right? My maximum depth is, of course, this here. This is how far it goes in. Right? That'd be kind of the side edge here, right? Of course, this edge right here is the same one, right? That's the same height. And then I also do it for the height, right? That's why I choose the highest height. That'd be here or here, and I draw that. I draw all those from the starting lines. And then based on this, I kind of finish out an entire three-dimensional box, right? It was kind of similar to the idea to our glass box that we had around for the first one, right? So then I have this three-dimensional box. Now, the reason why I do that is because, of course, on my piece of paper, right, I only have a certain extent of paper that I can draw on, right? If I do this on a computer, it's a little easier because often, I can go as far as I want to, but on my piece of paper, I want to make sure before I do all this detailed drawing that I actually know that it's going to fit on my piece of paper, right? If it doesn't fit on my piece of paper, then I have to use smaller units, right, to be able to fit it. Also, at the beginning, I think this three-dimensional box kind of helps you to see it in a three-dimensional way a little easier, right? So, well, okay, but that was our start. So now we have our bounding box. So then let's start drawing our lines, right? So what we do, again, we said we started at kind of this corner down here, all right? So then what we do is we draw our first line. Our first line goes here, right? So how do we choose this line? Well, we kind of have to find a line that starts at our starting point, right? And that we know is there, that we can see, right? If we think about our three orthographic projections, right? Then this line down here, I can see it here in my drawing, in the front view. I can see it here in the top view, right? And I know it's going to be basically going into the page right here, right? So there's nothing there that tells me that line doesn't exist. So I can draw that one line, like you just have to have that line here. And then I can do the same thing going upward, right? If I draw this line going upward, I see that it's this line and it's this line, and it would be kind of this corner, right? So I can easily draw that line. I know that exists. And then I can go across, right? I can say like, well, if I could draw the line down here, I can draw the line up here, right? Of course, they have to be parallel, right? So I can draw that line in. And then I can go back down, right? So basically what we've done is we've drawn one of these kind of front pieces here, right? Kind of that shape is what we just drew in there. Now, of course, the next part here, if I kind of go across along here, right? This part, I could say like, well, maybe I can draw that too, but then I look in my top view, and in my top view, I see there's nothing there, right? So I can't draw that line yet. I'll draw that later. But I can draw the next piece, right? This line here that I see, I can draw in. That's my line that I drew there. And then I can do the same thing to create that entire surface, right? Because I can see all these in the different views, right? I can see them here, I can see them here, and then I can see all of them right here. Right? So that means that all of them are there and I can easily draw them. All right, so now I have my front pieces, and then I can continue drawing, right? So it's the next line I can draw. Well, I can see that this line here starts where I already have something, right, at this corner, and goes all the way across, all the way back. And I can see here that it also goes all the way across. Right, so that means that line exists. It's a nice straight line. I can draw it in. Then I can go upward, right? And my upward angle, I can see like, well, this is this line and this line, right? They're both there. There's nothing strange looking in this corner, so I can draw that one in. All right. Then I can go across, right? I can see this edge right here. That's the edge here, the edge there, and it's just a point here, right? So good. It's a straight line. I can draw it. And then I can go draw it back down. I can go, now that would be this part right here. Again, the same, because I'm looking from the front, right? So I'm basically drawing this little edge right here, right? And then I can connect it all the way out again, right? That'd be my next line. So now I've drawn kind of this like, strange L-shaped type thing. All right. So now what else can I do? Now I can also draw all the way across, right? I can see this line goes all the way across, here. And, it's a point here. So it's all good. I can draw that line. And of course, then I can draw this line as well, right? That would be this line, or a point right here. Okay, so that's good. So I can have my general shape. And then I can go up, right? So if I was able to draw the line that goes up here, then I can draw that parallel line that goes up there, all the way up, right there. And then similar as I did here, where I came from this end and went over. Now I can go and do it in the other direction. There. Now I can't draw back down because that's going to be behind my piece, right? If I'm looking from over there, this back edge here, I can't see it, right? It's hidden, so I'm not going to draw that. But I can make, first I'm going to do the bottom parts, I guess. Let's stick with the flat areas before we do the angled ones. All right, so I can draw the center ones here. I see this one here. It's a line there and it's a point there, so it works. And I can go all the way around. That's easy. Now with the other parts, I have to be a little careful, right? If I start drawing from here, then I'll have hidden parts, right? Because obviously, if I draw that line going in like this, then it's going to be hidden. So let's start on the other end. Let's go down first, I guess. We can go down that corner. You'd connect that over. And now if we want to draw this line, then we don't draw it the entire length. We just draw it until it hits our visible line, right? Because the rest would be hidden. And then all the rest of the lines down there are going to be hidden, so we don't have to worry about them. Okay, now we can go back to our back piece here. Now this line here is different from all the other lines that we've drawn so far, right? Until now, all the lines that we've drawn were parallel to one of the major axes, right? They were either parallel to the depth, to the height, or to the width, right? So this angled piece here is the first one that's different because it's not parallel, right? So we can't just draw it along one of these lines, but what we can do is we know where it starts right here, and we know where it ends right there, right? So it'd be this corner and that corner, right? So we know the start and the end point, and we know that it's a straight line. So all we have to do is draw on a straight line. Right? So we have that going all the way across, and then we can draw the parallel to it on the back end. There we go. And with that, we have our entire thing drawn. Now, the last step that we want to do is we want to get rid of all of these construction lines that we have, right? This bounding box that we drew at the beginning, we can now erase. And there we are, our finished piece of drawing. Right? Pretty straightforward, one step after the other. Are there questions? No? All right, then let's try and run this by my camera. The problem is that this battery of the camera is not as good as it used to be. So I have to continuously charge it. But let's hope that it lasts for the 10 minutes or so that we need right now. And then again later. Let's see. Battery pack. In. I need to stop sharing because otherwise all you're going to see are the shared part. Well, actually, before we do that, now I can show you here. Let's see. All right. It has everything that we need. Excellent. It seems to be working. So what we're going to do, we're going to draw this little guy right here. All right. So that's also on the slide. So if you look later, you can see it on the slides. But for now, let's see what we can do here. All right. So we have this object, and we have our piece of paper. So we'll go from there. Let me make sure we zoom in just a little bit. There we go. All right, so what are we going to do? Usually we start kind of on this corner right here. All right, so we'll start here. And we're going to draw a bounding box. Now, for the first couple times you do this, I would suggest you do the bounding box afterwards. It's kind of an extra step that you don't necessarily have to do. So how big is our piece, right? We know it's across. It is 10, right? 3 plus 4 plus 3. We know that in depth it is, we have 5, 7, 8. And we know over here in height, it is 6. So we do our bounding box. All right, so it's going here. We'll choose a point. Maybe we'll choose this one here as our starting point. And so then we can say for our bounding box, we need to go, we said 10 in this direction, right? So let's count out 10. We'll just do 1 unit per box. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 10. So this would be a corner of our bounding box. Then we said it's 6 high. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we say it's 8 deep. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 deep. Okay, so now we have to, of course, finish our box, right? So this was 6 high. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I think that's it. We're missing one more corner here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, so we can draw it in. I'm going to do it a little thicker than I would usually do, well, just so you guys can see it. So our bounding box would look something like this. There, this would be the top of the box. And then what else? Let's do the top here. Top there. And then the inside of the box. All right, so that would be kind of our bounding box. So probably want to do some connections to the top, otherwise it's floating around. One here, and one there. All right, so we know that our entire drawing is going to fit into this little space that we have right here. All right, so then how do we draw the actual part? Well, we said we want to start at this kind of edge right here. So we're going to say, what can we see? Well, we can see this entire line in this view. And we can see it here. And we can see it's a point here. So that line should exist. So we can make this line all the way across to be a solid line. There we go. So we have one line already there. Now, what else can we see? Well, we can see we have a line here, right? And we have the line here. Those are both visible, right? Visible here, and it would be a line going in this direction there, so that's also visible. That head was 1 high, so we can just do 1 unit up. And then we can see that we also see this line, which is the back line here, and it's the point here. So we can draw that as a line as well, all the way across, because that's 10 as well. And of course, then we can also say that we see this line, right, which would be a point here, but a line here. So we have this front edges established. Right? We have this edge in front. Now, what else can we see? Well, we can see that we're now at this point, right? That's kind of the point right here. Move it up a little bit. Right, so if we have that point here, we know now it goes inward, right? That would be the line here or the line there. Here, it's just a point, right? It's going inside into the page. So we can draw that in. That said, that was that bench here kind of thing, right? Is given here as 1 unit deep. So all we have to do is we have to go 1 unit, but now in this direction right here, right? Along the depth. If we have that line here, we're also going to have it over here, right? So we can do the same thing on this edge, and then we can connect those two. Right, so we know that our object has a little bit of a toe kind of a thing, a little bit of a ledge to start out with. Right? That would be kind of our starting point. Now that means we're at this corner right here. Right? And then we say, well, in this corner, we see that it's now going upward, right? Going up 2 units, it says right here. Now, if we look in our drawing up here in the top view, right, that would be this, we'd be starting at this corner. Right, so we'd have to go up 2. Well, let's go up 2. Right, this is easy enough to do. We go up 2, and we can go up 2 on the other side as well. Right, that would be right. That would be right here. So we're up, and then we can look at this entire edge right here, right? That goes all the way across. It's a solid line here, and it's just a point here, so we know we can draw that line as well. So we draw this one across. All right, so we're getting a little bit of shape here. And I think I'm going to start erasing my bounding box here just a little bit, so my part is a little easier to see. You don't just see the bounding box, but we see the actual part. All right, so now we're at, where are we? We're at this corner right here, right, which is this corner, and in the drawing right here, it'd be there. That means now we can kind of see this ledge, right, going across. That would be right here, right? We can say, well, we see it as a flat line here, we see it as a flat line there, and it's just a point here, so we can draw that in. That says here, 2 units. So we go 2 units in. And we also see the same thing on the other side. 2 units in. All right, so we do it, can draw that on the other side too. Now, unlike the other ones, we can't just draw a line across this time, right? Because we have whatever this is happening, right? This triangle here is going to be what we see here. So we're not going to make that connection over. So we'll just continue on with our edges, right? So we can, for instance, say if we went 2 across, right? So that means we're here. In this drawing, we're still here. So this means now we'd have to go 3 up, right? So we can go to our drawing here and just go 3 units up. And we also can go 3 units up on the other side. All right, so now we're at the top, right? We're now at this corner, either on this end or on that end. So that means to draw the line across, right? Again, it's a flat line, so we can go flat line here, so we can just go 3 in that direction. That kind of hits right at our bounding box. 3 there, and we can do 3 here. So I don't miscount. All right, so now we have the back edge. Now that we have the back edge, we can draw this front edge across, at the top of it. The top one we can draw. We just can't draw the one that's kind of going in the, oops, you can't see it. Can't draw this one, but we can draw the one on top. So let's draw the one on top. Do something like this. All right, let's get rid of some of the bounding box here as well. I should have my good eraser, but I forgot it at home. So now we are at this corner. Right, be the same as the back corner right here, or we kind of have to look through here to see it. That means now from this side, we know that this is going to drop down, right? So what we're seeing from this direction is basically what this shape is supposed to be in the end, right? Looking from here, right? The right side view. So we see that we're going to drop down. How far are we going to drop down? Well, we know that the entire thing is 6 high, and this one is given as 2. So this drop has to be 4, right? And this is kind of what we see here as this dashed line as our hidden line, right? So we have to drop 4 downward from this corner. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we can't do that on the other side because the other side is going to be hidden, right? We won't be able to see it because it's kind of behind our own object. But what else we can see? Well, we can see that we're now at this corner, and we have to go in this direction, right? So that'd be farther into the page, and it says 2, so we can do 2 more units here. And then we can go down to the corner that we already have. All right, so it kind of make this line a little more visible. All right, so now we kind of see that all of this, right, is basically the view here. We can't see that triangle yet. Okay, what else can we do? Well, we can finish our back line here, this line on the top. We can definitely see that. There's nothing obstructing it. Of course, if we draw a line and we figure out later that's being obstructed, we can always erase it. Right? That's easy enough to do. But the less we have to erase, the better. Speaking of erasing, let's get rid of some of the bounding box here. Don't need it anymore. Before it gets too confusing. Sometimes when you erase the bounding box, you'll have to touch up your lines a little bit. All right, so now we have almost everything, but we're missing what's going on here. All right, that's the trick now. Well, what can we see? We can see that we have a straight line going across. Right? If we start at this corner, that corner right there, right, then we can go in this direction. We go 3 units in this direction. So it would be 1, 2, we'd be at that point. If we look at the other end, if we look here on this line, right, that was the edge down here, we see the same thing, right? If we go 3, we can go 3 along here, and we find our point. We can also see from our right side that the line that we're seeing in this triangle is a straight line. Right, so we found basically where that point is, and we found where this point is. That means they're connected by a straight line, so that's what we can do, connected by a straight line. And connect it right there. And then we know that it goes 4 more units across. So we can count out 4 on the top. 1, 2, 3, 4. And 1, 2, 3, 4. And again, we know it has to be a straight line, so we can just connect them two. Right, with that, we have constructed kind of this triangle shape. Now we're almost done. Right? If you look at this if you squint your eyes a little bit and look at this, then you're going to notice that there's still some pieces that look strange. Right? We have kind of this area, and then also the back, which is kind of missing stuff. Right? Well, we know that the line that goes across here, that line, right, is parallel to this line. So this line and this line have to be parallel, so we can just draw that one. And we draw that all the way up to where our triangle starts. Nope, we don't. We missed I forgot the front part. Of course, we have to draw the lines that are coming down. Right? We have to draw this line. as it's coming downwards. Let's draw the line that coming down. And then across. Like this, and then we can draw this. And then we can finish that line on the other side. Right, and now if you kind of squint a little bit, this looks more like an actual three-dimensional object. The only thing that's missing is, of course, this line in the back. That'd be this line. But that'd be kind of the ledge going backwards. That'd be this line right here, or not be this line, inside of this line. And with that, we're done. Right, if this were something nicer, then we'd have to be careful with how we erase these, but I'm just going to do a little bit of a quick job on this, right? But this is how we do our isometric drawings. Does that make sense? People think they followed along more or less. So you'll obviously get time to practice this. And I'm going to do one more with you with these guys, with like kind of this drawing. But first, we're going to do a little more slides. But this one works. People kind of understood what the process is, right? You kind of look at what lines you have, and you kind of see which of the lines are basically straight, right? Anything that you can see on your orthometric projection, and that is parallel to either kind of the up or down, the left or right, or here, right? Any of those lines that are parallel to these three are always going to be along kind of the axis that we have, right? Along the grid lines that we can see. If we have stuff that's not along the grid lines, like this one, then we have to find the starting point and the end point, and then we go from there. All right, let's switch back. Turn this off. Get the battery out. Put the battery back in the charger. And let me switch the camera so you can see me. And then let's share the screen again. Let's go back into there. All right, so that's where we ended. So this is what we just did. All right, and just like last week, I'm going to post that video separately. Right, I'm going to post the entire lecture, but I'm going to use that separately just in case it doesn't come out in the video here. All right, so that was kind of the easy version. And when I say the easy version, I mean that everything on that drawing, if you go back here to this one, everything that we're trying to do, every corner that we kind of used had a very clear dimension on it, right? I could easily draw this sloped surface here, these sloped lines, because I know exactly where they started and exactly where it ended, right? I can go into my drawing and I can count out the boxes where it starts and where it ends. Now, unfortunately, this is not always the case, right? We actually have cases where we don't have dimensions, right? So basically, we have something that looks like this kind of block right here, right? Where we have kind of just a regular block that was kind of sheared off or something that was cut off, right? And if we look at our dimensions, right, it tells us, the dimension tell us, like, it says here 3, that's kind of the height of this ledge is 3, right? Tells us that overall the block is 15 long and 8 wide, and in total it's 8 high, right? But it doesn't tell us how long this piece is, right? Or how long this piece is, right? Because we don't need to know that, right? We know the start point up here and down there, and that's all we need, because we know that all these lines, if they're parallel here in our orthographic projections, they also have to be parallel in our drawing, right? So if I can draw this line, then I know where this line has to be. I know where it starts, and I know its direction. I just don't know where it ends. And we'll, in this next example now, we'll see exactly how we can get to figure out how these are supposed to end. Right? So let's say we do the same kind of cartoonish way of going through this. but now with this different one, right? So we'll start again. I already have my bounding box in here, and then we'll start at the corner down here, right? So we know from our drawing here, if we look at the front view, right, we see that this line goes all the way across. So I can draw it all the way across here. The same for this line, right? It goes all the way across. That would be the line that we see from here, goes all the way across. So I can draw that one. Then in the back, right, this line here, I see that goes up. That's this line, right? It clearly exists and it's nice and straight, so I can draw it in. That's the line that I have right here. Then I can see this line, right? That would be the ledge here. It's a point here, and it's parallel here and parallel there, so I can draw it in. Then I can go upward, right? I can do this line. It's parallel here, and just a point there, right? So all good, means that line exists. Then I can go across. I can't use that one because I don't know that one yet, right? But I can go across here. Right? I see this line, and I see that line. I go across. Now I'm here. So now I am to a point where I know where this location is, and I know where that location is, right? Or here in the front view would be this location and that location. And here I see it's a straight line, right? So that means now I can just take the point here and the point there, and I can just draw a straight line to make them. Oh, I forgot to have my ledge up here. I'm sorry. Right. First, of course, we have to draw in our ledge here. We start in the corner, so we go out. That'd be 5 units. So we just go out. It's parallel here. It's parallel there, and just a point here. So that works. And then we can kind of finish off this top rectangle, this little piece here. All right, we can just draw those in. Those are easy to do. All right. So now actually what we can do, the next thing is that we have to draw the straight line, as I said, right? That'd be this edge here, this edge there, or this edge here. Right? So we can draw that line. That's easy enough to do because, again, we know the start point and we know the end point. And we know it's a straight line, so there it is. Now, what else do we know? Right? So we've known all those parts. We also now know, we know a couple more things, right? Basically, we know where this line has to be. This, like if we go here at this edge, right? Be this edge. And we know these two are parallel. They're flat here, so I can't see them. They're overlapping, right? So that means they have to be parallel in my drawing. So I can do a thinner line, a construction line, that goes from this corner and is parallel to this one, all the way down. Okay, so I kind of know where this line is. I just don't know where it ends. The way that I find out how it ends is I draw this line until it intersects, right? So this line in my drawing here starts here, right? So that's this line right here. So I can start in this edge, and I know this line, which is the same as this line, of course, has to be parallel to this line here, right? So I can draw that in as well. And then I know I have an intersection point. This intersection point has to be this point right here, right? That corner, my pictorial, this corner here, right? So I know that's where it is. So I can make those two lines solid lines, and then later I can erase these construction lines. Now, if I know where this point is, then of course I can draw this point as this line as well, right? To be this ledge here. All I have to do is I have to start at my intersection point and then draw along kind of these grid lines out by 4 units. I erased my lines, then I draw this one out. And of course, then I'm at this corner right here, right? The corner there. So I can draw a straight line from this point to that point and from that point to that point. Right? With that, my drawing is done. I just have to erase my bounding box, right? So this is something that's a little more complicated because, again, we need to construct some of the locations of the points. We're not given all the points straight away, right? We're not the location of this point and of this point, we have to figure out by our own, right? There's no units given to us, right? It's not at 4.5 or 3 3/4 or something like that, right? It's just something that we have to see and we have to figure out how we're going to do this. There are questions about this? Again, you'll be able to practice that once we get there. But before I let you practice, I'm going to do some practicing myself. So we're going to do this guy here. Let me make sure that I have my paper ready. Some paper here and some medium paper. All right, so this is the drawing that we want to make, right? So we see our front view, our top view, and our right side view. And we can see that there's now a couple of different lines that are at angles, right? So we have an angled line here, and we have an angled line here. All right, so now we have to go in, and based on what we see here, we have to now draw this. All right, so we're going to do it the same way as we did before. Now I'm getting a little worried about the battery because I only had a very short amount of charge, but worst case scenario, we will start drawing and then I can always let you guys draw for a little while because not all of them require this new technique. But we'll see. We'll keep our fingers crossed, I guess. Let's hold this up again. Turn it on. And stop sharing. And switch cameras. Let's move this a little closer this time. Too close. There we go. Make sure our focus is still set correctly. That's about right. All right, good. So now we have this little guy, a little more difficult, right? So I said usually we want to start with this corner point. All right. Now, if we look at our top view, we see that corner point doesn't exist. All right, so we'll still start with this point, but we're not going to start drawing a line until we're here and until we're here. All right, so 4 units basically. So let's make sure, choose something down here. That's probably enough space. So this is kind of our corner point. Now we say we want to go 4 in before we start drawing. 1, 2, 3. So we start drawing there. And then the rest of this line is 11 long, right? 7 plus 4 gets us from this corner to this corner, be 11. Let's draw a line that's 11 long. Hope it fits. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. That's good. Have our line here. And then we can do the same thing on this side. All right, we can say, oh, this has to be 2 from where we started. So our starting point would be there. And then we say, well, this has to be 8 across, right? Because that's this one is the same as this one. Right? So again, we can go 8. So as you notice, I didn't do the bounding box this time because I already know how big it is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we have this, and of course, now that we know where this point is and where that point is, we can just connect them by a straight line. Right? As you can see here, it's a straight line. So we kind of have our front shape at least done. All right, what else can we do? Well, if we look around, we can see that if we're all the way in the back here, this is a straight line that's going all the way up, right? There's no interruption there. We have this hidden line, but otherwise let's go straight up. It's this point here and go straight all the way up. So we're good there. And that is how high? Well, it's 6, that's 8 high. So just draw a line that's 8 boxes high. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 high. So now we're at this corner, right up there. Now for this corner, or here, right, for this corner, we can now see that we can go a line that's going across in this direction. That'd be this ledge right here, up here. Right, so we see that's 4 across, and if it's going in this direction here, then we know it has to go kind of in this general direction here. So we can put that up there. 2, 4. We have that. Of course, if we have this line, we can also go and do this line, be the front part of this. Right? That'd be kind of a line that goes straight to here. If it goes in this direction, we know it has to go in this kind of general direction on our piece of paper. That's also 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we see this, of course, has to be 4 as well, because this one was 4, and then this goes 4 in. So we basically have a square up here that we can draw in. 1, 2, 3, 4. And 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. So we have this part drawn. Now we can also draw the part on the other side. The tricky part is we don't want to draw the line down here, right? Because that would be stuff that's happening down here that might be blocked. So what we'll do, we'll just kind of jump, right? We'll see like this is 4 across. So we'll just jump, we'll do a blank 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Gets us to this corner, right? That corner would be right here, or right there, or right there. So that means we have 2 more to go. And then we're at the edge. So just basically barely fit onto our piece of paper. So now we have, that was this edge. If we have that edge, we can now draw this one, this one, this one, right? Because we know they're nice and flat. So they are 4 and 2 and 4. So 2, 4 here. And 4 here. 2 here, I'm sorry. And then 4 there. All right, so that's good. Now we've gotten all the way to the point where we have this point right here, or this point, or that point. Now, the nice thing is the reason why we need this point, right, is that we now have the slope one that's coming. That's the next one, right? That starts here and slopes down. So we know the starting point, but we don't yet know the end point, right? So we can find the end point. We know that's on the back corner, which was here, right? That point, and we know then we have to go up 2. So we can do that and go up 2 right there. And then all we have to do is take this point and that point, right? There's a straight line here. It's a straight line over here, and it's a slope line here. Right? So all we have to do is connect those 2 points, and we have our line. Now with this line, we now can draw this line and we can draw that line, right? Because we know these lines are parallel in the top view. That means they have to be parallel in our isometric drawing as well. So what we do, we start at this corner right here, and we draw a line that is parallel to the one that we just drew. Right? The one way we can do that, we can say like, well, if it moves over 2 here, then it moves over 2 here. Right? So we'll do this nice and thin because this is just a construction line. There we go. Is it visible? Yeah, it's visible. All right, so now we have the construction line. So we know this part of the line, we just don't know where it ends yet. And so we now have to figure out where this line ends. And if you look in here, this line ends basically at this invisible line, right? This line here at the bottom is the invisible line that we see here. Be the line that kind of goes straight in and out this way. So what we'll do is we'll go to this point, which is this point, and we'll just drop down the 2 that is specified, and then we can draw a line. All right, so let's go 2 down from this one. If what I'm saying doesn't make sense, then let me know, right? If I'm going too fast or something, just you can always just holler and let me know. All right, so now that we know where this corner is, we know where this line is. We know where, we don't know how long it is, but it has to be parallel to our main lines, right? So we can say we can do another construction line that starts here and is parallel to our grid. All right, which means, of course, we don't even have to do construction line. We can just draw it nice and thick up until where the intersection is. And then we know where this line is. We can draw it up. Right? With that, we have constructed this entire line. Right, okay, so now we need to construct, we need to put this line. Well, we know where the starting point is, right? This line right here, we know where the starting point is, and we know that it's 4 across. So we can turn our piece of paper a little bit and say we need to go 4 units across. It's a little tricky because it's not on a corner, but we know this would be 1. This would be 1. This would be 2, 3, and 4. Somewhere here. It has to be somewhere there. And now we can also see where this line is. Right? This line has to be parallel to this line, which was that line. So we can just draw a parallel there. So this one is 2, 4 over from this point, 2, 4 over from that point. So we know our line is right there, which means this line is right here. Like that. Okay, that looks good. Then of course we know that if we know where this line is, then we know this line, and all of these are parallel, right? Because they're all in one plane on the front view. So we know where this line has to be. It has to be another parallel line, right? Again, if we, how many corners are we away from this one here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Or you can also just kind of figure out what they would look like in a parallel way, but this is a little more precise. All right, so now we know where this general line is. We don't know where it ends, right? We know that it ends, or we can see that it ends here, but we don't know exactly where this is, right? We know that it's 4 from here, but we don't know how high it is. So all we have to do is we have to go back to our point that we have down here, right? That was the point that we started with. And we just have to go straight up. That's where we know where our line ends. Which means that line has to end right there. And then the last thing we have to do is we can see that we kind of have this bumper in front, right? That goes, how far does it go? It goes 8 and is 2 high, right? So we know that at this point, we have to go 2 up and then all the way across. Like this. And then the last thing that we have is now we have kind of this line is crazy, right? Because it's sloped in this direction and it's sloped in this direction. Right? The other ones that we saw were only sloped in one direction, but this one is now sloped in 2 directions, but doesn't matter to us because we know it's a straight line and we know where the start and the end point is. So we can draw this one right there. And then what else is left? Well, the only thing that's left is really to finish up this line in the back here, right? If you kind of look at the end here, it looks as if it's empty, right? There's something missing. So all we have to do is draw that line in. And with that, all that's left is to take out some of our construction lines. And with that, we're done. Right? There's another one. All right, but with that, we've now figured out what our piece looks like. Right? So now, if we were sending this out, right, we could just do one of these pictorials right here, and we'd be in good shape. All right, so the idea behind these isometrics and why I'm making you draw these is because it really helps your brain to think in 3 dimensions, right? To take a 2-dimensional object and kind of stitch it together into a 3-dimensional object. Right? That's why we're doing that here. Are there questions about how we got this construction done? No? All right, then we switch this off and then get back to one more thing here. Switch cameras again. right? So this is what the one that we just did. Now, before I let you draw your own, I just want to point out one little detail, right, that I have found helpful, right? So if we have our three views right here, right? And so now if we look at these three views, anytime we go in our front view from left to right, then it's the same as going in the top view from left to right. And in our drawing, that's going to mean it's kind of going from bottom right to upper left along the grid lines, right? So any line that's along this blue line here is going to have to be along this blue line here. The same if I'm going up in my front view, right? If I go up in my front view, that means I'm also going up in my right side view. On our drawing, that means going along the vertical line, right? And then of course, the same if I'm going kind of what looks to be up in the top view, right? But it's really more going across, right? If I do that, that's the same as going right to left on my my right side view. And that means I'm going kind of left to right on my drawing here, on my hand drawing, right? So if you keep those in mind, that's going to kind of help you to do your drawings. All right, with that, we have two practices today. That's why I asked you to do the two pieces of paper. We have the one that's fine, so like the finer grid, and then we have one that is medium, right, for the coarseness of the grid that I gave you. Now, in this one, this is kind of like the first one that we drew today, where there's no, like, where you know where everything starts and ends, right? If you go through, we can see exactly where this point is and where that point is, right? We can kind of use kind of count boxes to get there. So this is a little more straightforward because all we need to do is we find the endpoint. Well, we can draw in the endpoints and then we're there. And then for this one, it's a little more difficult because this is another one where we have to do some constructions, right? If we look at where these corners are and where these corners are, then they're not specified, right? So they're based on the idea that we have kind of this triangular shape to our part. And so we know the height here from here to there, which tells us like what this depth has to be based on the construction, right? The same way that I just did those constructions a minute ago. All right, with that, I think I will let you get, I should probably give you those pieces of information. Let me quickly jump over to Blackboard. And where are we? Right there. Let me make them available. Number 1 and number 2. So now in class and homework, you should see 2 more assignments, Isometric 1 and Isometric 2. They are both due on Wednesday, so I suggest you get started. I will also, in the lecture one, I will go ahead and the video and the drawings that I just did, I will also make those available if you want to use them as help. 1 and 2.
Sorry, and can you show us at least, I don't know, send it per email, the answers, the one that were due today?
I will do that. I will post those on Blackboard, and I will post those after the deadline, because there's still people that have not sent in their examples. So what I will do, and this is going to be the same for all of the homeworks, I will grade and return whatever you give me, and part of the grading will be that I correct stuff that I see. Right? I'm not going to draw perfectly nice straight lines, but I'm going to show you kind of where things are that I think need to be fixed. But I'm also going to post solutions, and especially for these at the beginning, I'm going to post videos of how I did the solutions too, kind of like the same at the same level of detail as I just did with the drawings, right? I'm kind of explaining what I've done. But for now, I would suggest that you guys get started drawing, and I will be here to answer any questions. I have more pieces of paper here, so I can always start and do some drawings. Tomas, yes.
Should we draw what I don't remember the name, but the box?
The bounding box. So
Yes.
for the first one, I would do the bounding box, just so that you're sure that it actually fits on the piece of paper. That's like the main reason. Or at the beginning, the bounding box helps a little bit to kind of see the three-dimensional thing, because you already have something that looks three-dimensional on the page. So that helps sometimes, but it's mainly there to make sure that the object fits on your piece of paper. So you can either draw the entire box, or you can just kind of, like I did before I drew the box, I kind of put the most extreme corner points. And if you do that, then you don't have to draw the bounding box. I mean,
Yeah.
in the end, I shouldn't be able to tell if you drew the bounding box or not, because that would be a construction line. You should erase those before you are done.
And in this type of paper, 1 unit is 1 triangle, right?
That is entirely up to you. So like I chose them in a way that one triangle should be 1 unit. But if you had something that was a different, that was in tens or in 20s, right, then you might have to do like, 10 units are 1 box or something. Here I'm just doing it that one unit is 1 box, just to make it a little easier to do this.
Yeah.
Pretty sure you guys can count, so I'm hoping that just don't want to confuse people as we go along.
Thank you.
Mhm. Charge the camera battery anymore, in case we need it.
I feel like I have no idea where to start. Can you give me like
Well, so like as I kind of said, right? So what we usually do, if this is our, well, let me, probably easier if I do it on the let me share my screen. Mhm. There we go. All right, so this is the one that you want to start out, right? So usually what we do, we start with the bottom corner, right? Because that's the one that's going to be pointing straight at us, right? Kind of this point right here. Right, so that's usually where we start. This would be the point right in this corner.
in the box? It would be like the one in the middle or the one up in the right?
The box would be, kind of think about, that would be this length. Right, that would be kind of the one that goes in that direction.
Mhm.
Then this length, right, which is the same as that length, that length is the one that goes kind of that direction. And then the height is the one that's just the height, right? That's the same as it is before.
Okay.
And remember that you can, like, think about this one right here. Right? Remember that the one that goes across is the one that goes in this direction, the blue one. Right? If you're on the right side of you and you're looking at across, then it goes towards the back.
Oh, this will definitely help.
And then if you go up and down, then that's what you see there.
Okay. Thank you.
Right, so now we just have to take the slightly different shape that we had and kind of imagine them there. Right? You have to kind of take these drawings and of course replace them with what we saw there. Or maybe I'll just leave this slide up, because that I think is helpful.
Thank you, Professor.
Francisco, you look very, very deep in thought. Where are we starting?
It's that I also did the ones that you were doing. I was drawing along, and now I don't have space for the other ones.
Oh, okay. That's
And I didn't print more papers.
yeah, I didn't specify that one. I should have specified that one. Yes.
Professor, should we use the paper like this or horizontally?
This way. Landscape. Otherwise, the orientation of the triangles is not correct. Remember that we have from the vertical we go 60 degrees to each of the two directions. If
Okay,
you do it the other way around, then you don't get that.
okay, thank you.
Any questions? I'm gonna check any of the drawings so far. No, no, I don't want to see one. Any questions? Anything that I can help out with? I know it's a little awkward doing this over Zoom, but don't have many other options there. Wednesday, it's going to be a little easier.
Are we going to have class time to work this on Wednesday? To work on this on Wednesday?
Not on this one, but on the next set.
Okay.
Where are you stuck, Thomas? Seems like you're stuck.
Well, for now I have this. Can you see it?
Let me see. I need to zoom you in. Give me 1 second. Oh, I have to stop sharing, I think. There we go. Yeah. That
Am I
looks very good. All right. So you already have now this front ledge, right? It's
Yes.
the same as kind of the straight line right up and down there. So now what you can do is you can start in the little corner here. Oops, where am I? Difficult pencil on the wrong way. Or you can start at this corner. You can do this line at the bottom here, going towards the back, right? Kind of into your page almost.
Okay.
Right. That's another thing you can do it. Once you have that on one side, right, you can do both the bottom one. Where am I there? The top one and then the bottom one as well.
Okay.
That make sense?
Yeah,
I guess we'll see. I guess we'll see if it makes sense or not. in a minute.
yes, I'm gonna try it. Thanks.
I have a question.
Yeah.
On the front view,
Hmm.
top right part, well, in the top part of the front view,
Hmm.
in the examples of the arrows that you made us, like where should it go in our page?
This year,
Yeah.
this line is going across, right? So we'll be going in this direction on your piece of paper.
Okay.
So what you don't know is the exact direction of these two corners here, right? This corner and that corner,
Mhm.
right? Because those are not parallel to anything in, like, these are parallel, but these are not parallel to any of the main corners, right? So you'll have to figure out where that point is, and you figure out where that point is, and then you just do a straight line.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you.
Or what you can do is you can say, like, well, I know that overall this is going to be, what is it, 710 high, right? You can do this corner and draw across, and then later on kind of do the cutout. That's also a possibility.
Yeah. What I tried to do is like here and then throw a line.
But you should be going from the, so where you're kind of, you have that, you drew this ledge here, right?
Yeah.
Right, you have that. And the next line that you're drawing, that I see they're drawing, is going straight up.
Yeah.
Right? But if you think about it, what connects from this corner is this line, right? Which is the flat line right here. So it shouldn't be going up, it should be going into your paper. Right? It should be going your paper in this direction.
Like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right, because it's going upward in the front view, right? So if you go back to that slide, then that means that he's to be going in this direction.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Again, at the beginning, it takes a little while to get your brain to kind of to think about, like, taking those two-dimensional views and stitching them together into a three-dimensional view. It's not a simple thing, and don't worry if it seems a little cumbersome at the beginning. It's a little bit of practice is all it takes.
I have a question as well.
Yeah.
Like, well, this, I don't know if you could see there.
Mhm. Yeah, no, looks very good.
How can I do like the wall, for example, like the back part?
Yeah, good. At least, okay, you already see that that's a wall. That's a good start, right? So you drew the line. You drew kind of this line right here, right? That was kind of going backwards. You kind of drew the start of this L shape on your piece of paper, right? So now if you're at this corner down here, right, that would be the end of your piece of paper, basically, right? The end of your kind of L shape on the right hand side of your paper, right? All you have to do is you have to go straight up, right? Remember that what I see in the right side view as going up and down goes up and down on my piece of paper too.
Okay.
Right, so you just have to check, well, how far do I have to go? Well, I start all the way at the bottom and I go up to that corner, right? That's the same level right here. That means I have to go up 7.
Okay.
And
Thanks.
you can do that for the back one, and then for the front one, you can do the same thing. Just, of course, you're just going up 5, not 7, right? Because you're already two steps
Yeah.
up.
2 steps. Yeah.
Yeah,
Thanks.
good. I can put that slide back up. Maybe that helps. And so if you're not sure which direction it goes, slide it back up. So does everybody have a mental image of the piece by now? To kind of think that you know what it looks like.
Kinda.
I'm not there yet.
Right? If you think about, right, think about it. You can look at, for instance, if you look at the side view, right? If you see the right side view, you know it overall has kind of overall an L shape, right? That's what we see from the side view. That gives us a pretty good description of it. Then if we look at the front view, right, we see that there's something going on in the middle. Has the two corners cut off, but otherwise it's pretty rectangular. But it has this weird thing going on. Well, this weird thing going on we see in the right side view is kind of a triangle that comes out. Right? And from the top view, we see that the back is nice and straight, the front is nice and straight. There's just this weird triangle piece that's in there. It's basically an L shape that has kind of a nose sticking out into it. If you can't make a mental image, this is basically what it looks like. Right? If we look at the right side view, we see it's an L. A little bit of a nose on it. Look from the front, we just see that it's kind of cut off on the top and bottom. Look from the top, you see it's nice and regular, except the nose that kind of sticks out. Right? So when you're drawing it, it's going to look something like this. If this seems hard at the beginning, don't worry. That's completely normal. As that it takes people a couple tries usually to get this going. Some people are just, very artistic mind or kind of hand-eye coordination artistic, and that's easier for them to see. I've had some people who were just like, well, yeah, of course, and just sketch it out in like 5 minutes. But I certainly wasn't that way when I started. It took me a while to figure these things out. And often the best approach to start is to be very systematic, right? To just look what lines are there that are parallel to the main coordinate direction, right? If we think about this as an XYZ type coordinate system, any line that's parallel in two, or is like parallel to one of the directions in two of the views, right? It has to be a line that's parallel to your grid lines on your piece of paper. You just start from there. Anything that's not, you leave out until the end, and then you fill those in as you go along. Now the drawing's coming. If you're stuck, let me know. I was going to give a little push, point you where to do your next line that might help.
Not for the moment.
Okay.
I think I have finished the first one.
Okay. Want me to have a quick look?
Can I? Okay.
Let me stop sharing so I can see it. Nobody else look? Yep, that looks good. Just be careful on kind of the right side of your page, right? You'd have to
Uh-huh.
remove the inside line, right? You see kind of the bottom line in the back. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and on the other end, you have the line where kind of the top of the plateau is. You have that line going all the way to the back. But right, if you look at the side of it, right, if you look at this side here, right, there's no line going across.
Okay.
See what I mean?
Okay. Yeah.
Otherwise, it looks very good.
Okay. Thanks.
Professor, I'm stuck.
Okay, where?
I'm gonna turn on the light to be able to see.
I think you're drawing it from the back. It almost looks like. Can you put your page up a little higher? So it looks like. So we're trying to draw it like kind of like this, right? But what we're seeing right now is that. Do you see what I mean?
Oh yeah, I see.
Right? So you would, again, you start with this corner down here, and then you start drawing this line, and maybe you can start kind of the front kind of rectangle here, and then you can think about the ones that are going out towards the back, kind of draw basically this shape in, like this L shape. Oop, where are we there? Right? You can draw this in, and then go from there.
Okay. So what I drew, it basically, I have to change it to the other side, right?
Right. I would erase it and start anew. Because otherwise you can't get far enough out, right? If you could start with a back wall, and then I'll do all your drawing, but I don't think it's going to fit on your piece of paper. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think I do.
It's not the plan ones. All right, Tomas, let's do the first steps together. You want to do the first couple steps together,
Yeah, sure.
or do you know where you're starting now? Do you think you're on a good path?
I think I already understand a little bit better, but
Okay. Do you want to try by yourself, or do you want to just kind of do the first couple lines and then go from there?
I think it would be helpful to do the first.
Then let's do it. Of course, anybody else can happy to listen to, right? So again, we want to kind of start with this kind of corner point right here. Right? In this case, unlike the last one where we couldn't see it, now it's a perfect spot, right? So we'll start here, and I'm just going to hope that my piece of paper is big enough. So this is supposed to be what, 10, 16, 16, 20. Right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Yeah, probably just about. Let's go a little down. Let's go there and make it fit. All right, so we'll start somewhere here. Again, that would be that corner right there. All right, so what we do, well, we look at this line first here. This line there is, of course, parallel, right? It's parallel to one of, if I think about my main kind of axes, right? It's parallel to one of my axes here. It's the same line here. It's also parallel. So I know it's a straight line. So again, let's make sure we have this, right? So it's 10, 16 should be 20. So we can draw a line that's 20 in this direction. Let's hope I didn't miscount. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. That's right. All right, so this will be our first line. Just like that, right? So then if we have this line down here, then now we have a couple different options, right? We can start going backwards in this direction to this line. Or we can say like we want to go up first and do this line. I usually do the up one first. Kind of gives me a good idea of what I'm starting with. All right, so we can see this is supposed to be 2 going upward. It's parallel to a axis here. It's parallel to an axis here. It's just a point there, so it has to be just straight up. So we can just draw 2 units, 2 boxes straight up. Right there. And of course, if we do it here, it's the same on the other side, right? Because it's also, there's no hidden line or anything else going on here, so it has to be that line. So we can do straight up there. And then we can see that this line also goes all the way across here, as it does there. So we can draw the front line, have our little box going on there, right? So that we kind of have our front edge. All right, so now that we have you have the front ledge. All right, so now we have the front ledge. We can say like, well, now maybe we're going to draw the side piece here. Right, well, how far do we have to go back? Well, it says 10, 12 units in this direction, right? Which means 12 units in this direction as well. Both of them are parallel, so we can just draw a straight line back that goes 12. So hope that fits. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 12 backwards. Right there. Right, now that we have this line, oops. Now that we have this line, we can go upward, right? Because we're at this corner now. This corner is the same as that point right there, right? So we can say this is straight here and is straight there. So all we have to do is go 7 units up, right? And it's in this direction, so it's actually vertical up. So all we have to do is go straight up for 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Right, now we're at that corner up there. All right, so what we can do is we can go do this line across, right? This line here is the same as that line there. All right, so that means we only have to go 2, and now we have to go in this direction on our paper, right? Because that's the direction that we're drawing. So we can go 2 inwards.
Professor,
Like that. Yeah.
may I ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
So is that I am stuck in this part, in this one.
Okay, I think you're overall on the wrong.
Am I doing it like backwards?
I think you have it turned 45 degrees from what we usually would do.
Inside the, like on the other side.
So you're drawing it like. No, I don't have my camera here. There, I guess that makes it a little hard to do. You're drawing it like this when it really should be more like that. Right? If you look at if you think about your this direction here, right, is the direction that goes this way.
Okay.
Well, let's have a look. Let's have a look anyways, because that just because it's turned 90 degrees for the first one, I'm not gonna complain.
I don't know why.
But I think you're so on the kind of where you have your first kind of where it kinks up, right, in this area here. Oop, where's my there? In that area, right, on your piece of paper, those 2 points, the next one down, not the one up there, but the one up here, right? This line here in our drawing, right? That would be that line, this line right here, right?
Yep.
It is parallel to one of our major axes here, and it's the same line as here, right? And so it's parallel there as well. So this should be a line that's parallel to one of your grid lines, and currently that kind of going across isn't. I think your back is thicker than
So
it
you should be parallel this one, right?
Right,
This-
it should go straight, again, not straight across, but kind of along the grid lines across.
Okay.
So I think you might have just,
And in here,
and
what?
I think one of the lines looks like if it's thicker than that the back looks thicker than it should be. I think you may have miscounted on kind of, where's my camera, on this edge here.
Mhm.
You want to remeasure to see that's the right length.
Okay.
And on the other end that you're doing, you should also recheck your counts, because it seems that the back one is longer than the front one. That should be the case.
Okay.
All right, Tomas, are we still? How are we doing?
I'm gonna show you what I have.
Okay.
Wait a second. But I already understood why I had to erase it.
Good.
Or I have this. Wait.
Yeah, no, that looks good.
So I think it's
Hard to see that the top one I can't see, so I'm not sure. But like kind of the side L certainly looks correct. There other questions? Like technically the class is done for the day. If people need to go somewhere, want to go somewhere, you are released. But if you want to sit on here for another 10-15 minutes or so, that's also fine. Also, I think so for the drawing stuff, it's really hard to do online office hours because it's kind of difficult to see what you guys are doing. But if you want to, so I'll be in the classroom half an hour before class on Wednesday. So if people want to come early to kind of get stuff to have question answered or stuff checked, then I'll be there. Or if you want to schedule something tomorrow just online, then we can do that too. Again, it's sometimes a little tricky to do for these drawing things.
Professor, well, I'm
Yeah.
gonna go now because I already turned in the assignments. So,
Okay, that's also good.
okay, thank you. Goodbye.
Yeah, good one.
I think I'm also done with this assignment. So
Okay. Yeah, no, as I said, like anybody who wants to leave, you're perfectly free to leave. Officially class is over.
can I ask you a quick question of
Yes.
today's homework? Is that I'm having a struggle with the orthographic projection practice too. I'm doing the right side. I was thinking on doing the left side because it shows like more information.
Okay, so if you want to do that, that's fine. You just have to make sure that you put it on the left side then,
Okay.
right? So usually we have our setup like this, right? Give me 1 second. This is usually our setup, right? Where we have the front, the top, and the right. Right, that's usually how we organize it on a page. If we wanted to do the left side instead, right, then you'd have to do top, front, and left on your
Oh.
piece of paper.
Okay. So it changes like the faces, like the places where they were.
Exactly.
Okay.
The location on the page on the page changes, but nothing else.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
So I'm also gonna try to finish and submit it to Blackboard. Okay.
Sure. And again, if you have any questions, just
Yeah.
let me know. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Have a
No
nice
problem
day.
at all. Yeah. See you on Wednesday.
See you.